what is the incubator of resentment? And this is, you know, a Brené Brown as well. So she says discomfort over resentment, and I 100% agree. I would far prefer to be uncomfortable than feel resentment. Resentment is, or feeling resentful towards someone or something, is a very difficult place to recover from unless you are actively trying to do that. And usually by the time you are in the resentment spiral, you're not really recognizing that you do want to recover from it. So what happens is there is an action or a behavior. Someone does something or says something that we don't agree with or that we don't like. And as we know, the standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept. But also, if we were going to pull them up on this particular action or behavior, it's going to make us feel a little bit uncomfortable, and we just don't really want to do that. You know, it wasn't a big enough thing for us to feel uncomfortable about, and it was just a once-off, so we won't say anything. That's our action and behavior. Then our reticular activation system, so our RAS, which is in our mind, and what we focus on, we start to recognize, which is why, you know, when you're going car shopping, depending on how old you are, you might be a little bit young for this, but, you know, you get the trading post, and what you really want is a red Honda, and you go through the trading post or Cars Guide or whatever it is that you do to find your car. You know, you've just got your P's, you're ready to be independent, and you're looking and you're looking, and there's, you know, there's a handful of red Hondas in the trading post each week, and you're like, oh, for goodness sakes, there's no excuse me, there's no Hondas available. I'm going to have to keep looking. Excuse me again. And as we're looking, you're looking each week and you're getting more and more anxious, and you're thinking, oh, for goodness sakes, I'm never going to get my dream car and my fluffy dice, and what's going to happen? And finally, you find the ad in the trading post, and it's, you know, one lady owner, you know, only driven on the weekends. You're like, yes, this is the car for me. And if you live down south, it's north. If you live north, it's south. Whatever it is, you have to go on a bit of a drive to go and get it. And as you're driving down to go and get your brand new red Honda, you're super excited. It's everything you've dreamed of. And you're like, yes, this is it. You hand over your cash, you get your keys. And as you're driving back home, you pass 32 red Hondas on the road. That is your reticular activation system kicking into place. So the things that we start to recognize are the things that expand, which is why gratitude is so effective when we're feeling a bit down in the dumps. The more that we are grateful for and recognize that we're grateful for, the more positive things we see in our life. This is where confirmation bias comes in. So when we start recognizing or notice a behavior that happens that we're not really very happy with, we also don't want to put ourselves out there. We don't want to put ourselves in an uncomfortable position, so we just don't say anything. We start to recognize it happening again and again. And, you know, Karen, who keeps leaving her dirty coffee cup on the sink, you know, blow me down, she is doing it, generalize, every time she has a coffee, she leaves it in the sink like there's some kind of dishes fairy that's going to come along and do it. But we're not going to say anything because, you know, we don't want to be that person that pulls them up on it. And then we start noticing it time and time again. And as we're walking past, you know, Karen's desk, we're noticing that there's like multiple coffee cups, and she doesn't really help in any way when it comes to morning tea time. And she's not really a team player. And now we're generalizing, and we're starting to conjure up a story about Karen, and we're mind reading, and we're like, you know what, Karen just really is a real slob. I bet you she's like this at home. No wonder. And you know what? I don't think she's actually a really good person. We start making judgments about her personality as well based on this action. And the action that was then exacerbated by our reticular activation system gets to Friday night, and we're like going to have some Friday night drinks with our work bestie, and we start telling them about Karen and how much of a slob Karen is, and she keeps leaving the dishes, and she doesn't ever contribute to morning tea. And, you know, it's really this cycle that she's gotten herself into, and Karen's just really not a team player, and she's not really helping in any way. And your work bestie's like, oh, okay, I'll keep my eye out for that. Reticular activation system kicks in, and before we know it, the whole team is really noticing that Karen is a real slob. And because we are all starting to notice it, and we're all washing her dishes, and we're feeling like quite a bit of resentment now towards Karen because she's not really cleaning up after herself, and productivity is beginning to reduce, morale is beginning to lower. If you're working in an office that's got partitions, you might be doing side eyes when Karen says something or does something, because all of a sudden, you know, what we notice on what we focus on expands. And, you know, all of a sudden Karen's this horrible person that's not a team player. She doesn't care about anyone. She's not contributing to the team. She's a bit of a slob, and we've conjured up this entire story. And, you know, something might happen. You know, maybe Karen leaves an extra cup there, or maybe she asks and pulls someone else up on doing the dishes, and there's the eruption. You know, something will happen where the team kind of, you know, gets into a bit of a a heated discussion, for example, or it could be that someone said something that's, below the line and, a bit below the belt to Karen, has a dig at her. She calls HR or you call HR, and you're going to need to have a talk, a real serious talk about so-and-so's performance. Have you seen this happen? Perhaps not with a coffee cup, but it could be someone sending abrupt emails. Someone could be cutting you off in a meeting. Someone continually arrives late to their shift, and that means that it impacts the whole team. Have you recognized a behavior pattern that happens time and time again? It's not a huge thing, but it keeps happening and no one says anything. Have you seen that happen in your own workplace?